Hello and welcome back to Shuffle Junkie. I'm kind of on a forest craft kick. You saw the buffed fairy army last time. That was a fun deck, very affordable for those new to the game. A great first choice. However, seeing as how there is still a lot of aggro out there, and not just aggro, there's a lot of mid-range sword. The deck made of like 14 legendaries, it's a crazy goddamn deck. And we gotta meet crazy with crazy, but a different kind of crazy. What we have here is a nice control forest deck. Your win conditions, you got a King Elephant to storm down through Ward, and you have 3 Jungle Wardens to either do 8 damage or 10 damage, depending. Maybe even more, if you play your cards right. Ho 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 ho. What do I mean by that? Well, your Drazel can make Wrath of Nature to give someone a bonus point, as well as Rush. I mostly use Blessings of Creation. Card draw is very important in this deck. You want to make sure your hand is max all the time, just making sure you don't mill yourself, of course. And we also have Fashionista Nelcha here. Angel's Dress gives something +1/+1. So it's possible to buff your finishers if you need to, but that will almost never come up. More likely you're going to use Demon's Dress to get rid of scary minions. Say your opponent plays Beauty and the Beast, a card you cannot target with damaging spells or destroy minion effects, but changing an enemy's defense doesn't count as those, so you can make Beauty and the Beast a massive 9/1 if you want to, making it much easier to remove. What else do we got in here? Well, it's a control deck, so a lot of removal. We have Airbound Barrage. We're going to be using this to bounce back a number of things into our hand, as well as doing 3 damage. It's great removal. And its targets, Insect Lord. You always want to go for something like Insect Lord. This will help you remove more minions. It does damage based on the number of cards you played that turn. With stuff like Airbound Barrage, you can use it over and over again in one turn, or use it once to return it to your hand. Another good target for Airbound Barrage, Woodland Brambles. You play it, you use it, and when it's about to break, put it back in your hand, play it again. Keep it going. Another great target, Cassiopeia. Your primary board clear, I would say. This can ruin the opponent's board, which is very important, especially against mid-range sword, where King Arthur can flood the board. This can take care of the problem, especially when it's paired up with Airbound Barrage, as I just said, or Insect Lord, or all 3. And if you don't want to do those 3, you can consider getting extra uses out of Insect Lord by using Paula, Icy Warmth, because the Gentle Warmth effect will bounce something back to your hand, letting you get another use out of it. Passion Warmth is helpful if you need to ping something, especially if you've used your Demon Dress and you just need to take care of it without using an Evolve point. But you could use those Evolve points with Reckless Abandon, because we have Crystalia Aaron here, who if you play on turn 8 or later will give you bonus evolution points, and every time you play it will heal you for 3. It's not the best target for Airbound Barrage or Paula, but it's not the worst choice either. And then, rounding everything out, Starry Elf will make sure you have those very important Woodland Brambles. Sorry, Wood of Brambles. I always say Woodland Brambles. But Woodland Brambles, very important. I just said it again. Doesn't matter. It's Woodland Brambles from here on out. If your opponent's playing Portalcraft, Woodland Brambles will make them cry. It will just ruin them. Every stupid artifact that has 1 health just dies without getting any of its benefits. Venus is here to make sure that you're always drawing cards, which is very helpful. And it's also just a decent card. We got... already talked about Fashionista. Pure-Hearted Singer is just straight up draw. It's a good cycle card. You toss it on the field, you get a card, it dies, you get another card. Sylvan Justice, easy early game removal, and it generates fairies. The other thing we need to talk about are fairies being important. Woodland Brambles is going to put 2 in your hand. Fairy Whisperer puts 2 in your hand. And that makes it so you can combo out your things that require cards beforehand, Insect Lord for instance, Paula, another good example there, and Rayne, Elfsmith, who's great for value trading. You play 2 fairies, play Rayne, evolve Rayne, and then you have a 2/1 rush that won't take damage, and you have a 4/4 that you could trade into anything else left on the board. It allows for some good situations where you have a board and your opponent does not. And I think we have talked about everything in the deck. Fairy Whisperer, just here for fairy generation. That's really all it's here for. But, like I said, that's very important, because you want a full hand for King Elephant, you want a full hand for Cassiopeia. You just want full hands as much as possible. Anyway, that's the deck. Really sped through that one. And it being a control deck, it's really all about how you use these cards. You're not looking to really rush your opponent down, you're looking to control the situation and keep it entirely within your benefit. And you just want to ping, like you want to do 1-2 damage every once in a while, and if you can get your opponent down to, say, 12 or 11 health, you're in range for winning, because King Elephant, if it's a 10-10 because you have 9 cards in hand, you evolve it, that's 12 damage. Jungle Warden, it's 8 damage without an evolution point, 10 with an evolution point. And the perfect combo is turn 10, Jungle Warden, you bring them down to 10 health, usually lower than that, because you've been chipping away with your fairies and your smaller minions over the course of the game. And then, turn 11, King Elephant finishes. If you're looking to change the deck up a little bit, maybe put a second King Elephant in there, or maybe put in a card that will tutor King Elephant into your hand, just something to increase the odds you'll have that King Elephant. It's honestly fine the way it is, just because Jungle Warden is strong enough on its own, and if you have 2 Jungle Wardens, it's as good as having a Jungle Warden and a King Elephant in hand. So it's like having 4 finishers in the deck that you often only need 1 of, and if you end up needing to, are interchangeable. The benefit for King Elephant is if your opponent is running a ward, not super common in the current meta, but it can come up. That's the benefit of King Elephant. So if you're looking to tech against certain decks, and your opponents seem to be playing a lot of wards, put another King Elephant, maybe just 2 Jungle Wardens, or maybe remove something else, but I don't know what you remove. Probably a Starry Elf. Like, it's very helpful getting that Woodland Brambles, but if you're running into less situations where Brambles are important and more situations where King Elephant's important, then I think that's a fair trade-off right there. Anyway, let's see how the deck performs. Specifically, let's watch it destroy a bunch of mid-range sword, because there are a lot of them in the Grand Prix. Alright. As promised, here's our Swordcraft opponent. And these games are all from me in Group A of Round 2 of the Grand Prix. I'm now in the finals, so I'm looking forward to that. I definitely am excited to get these card sleeves, because Vania is one of my favorites. Alright. So as you saw, the mulligan, we're looking to get some of our early game things. Depending on your opponent, you might want to hold on to a Cassiopeia because you know that the mid-game and late-game are going to be clusterfucks, in which case, hold on to the Cassiopeia. It's probably worth your while. Insect Lord is a great early-game card. Sylvan Justice, good early-game card. Stuff like that will help you keep yourself alive until the finishing blows are able to be dealt. And it's always reassuring having King Elephant in your hand. I wouldn't mulligan to try and get it, but if you have it, maybe consider keeping it just so you have the peace of mind of knowing that on turn 10, if you need a finisher, you got one. Woodland Brambles is very nice to see here. And we have 3 Insect Lords, so I will sometimes sacrifice one without worrying about a bounce. Of course, we draw a bounce right afterwards, but what are you gonna do? But, thankfully, the choose cards allow you to have nice, useful situations like this. I didn't want to use an evolution point, but I did want to clear the board. I wanted to make sure it was my board, not my opponent's. And of course, because it's mid-range sword, there are certain things we're going to be looking out for. Case in point here, we know they have 3 luminous mages in the deck, so the countdown begins now. There's only 2 left. It could be quite a frustrating card to deal with. Now, it's turn 6. I have 2 Crystalias in my hand, so I'm going to start evolving now, just for the most petty trades, hoping to kind of bait them into using more evolution points. Sylvan Justice, that's going to be helpful. And I just had to accept my fate that I'm going to lose this Brambles. I didn't have any bounce, didn't have the card that'll tutor the next one into my hand, so we're just going to have to deal with it. So this is less than ideal, but we have Cassiopeia in our hand, so we're not too worried. Problem with Cass here, it won't be able to kill everything, but now that we have an Airbound Barrage, it can kill everything with the use of this fairy as the final point of damage. So we're gonna make them get their hopes up here, and now we'll dash their hopes. Board clear, full hand, Cassiopeia is still here. Going into turn 7, so King Arthur, the expected play. But it's turn 8, so I have Sylvan Justice and Cassiopeia, meaning I could pretty efficiently clear this board. Got a little bit unlucky there. The hope, of course, is that only 1 minion would survive, but 2 made it. But we're in a pretty good situation where we're out of Evo points, they have them. So we're hoping they're going to overcommit here, thinking they're super safe. But we know the truth. We have another Cassiopeia. We have 2 Crystalias. I'm really hoping at this point to draw into a Jungle Warden. And to that effect, I'm going to start making some crazy plays here. This is exclusively a play to try and get Jungle Warden in my hand. No dice on the first draw. We still have the draw at the start of our turn. Captain Welford, of course. But at 16 health, we knew this wouldn't be enough to kill us. And we have a decent amount of heal here. So I was willing to take that damage. And now they're at evolution points. So we're going to clear the board, knowing that they can't do 6 damage worth of storm, that being the key here. As long as everything here is dead, we're okay. And now we could start chipping away at their face. Because ideally we can get them down to 10, 11. Alright, on our next Luminous Mage. There goes 1 Lancer. They're down to 3 cards. I'm starting to feel real good about this. And their minion generation doesn't worry me so much. Still no dice on what we really need, which is a Jungle Warden. Gonna burn a few fairies, nothing we can do about it. And start getting rid of the major threats. That way, even if they do somehow have another Welford in hand, it won't be enough to kill us because we'll have a nice big Warden way. We know they have 1 more Luminous Mage. There it is. They're out of Luminous Mages, finally. Another Gawain. But, like I said, another Crystalia in hand. Not too worried here. Taking that 2 damage is fine. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to not finish the job, get rid of my 4-1, because I can make some very favorable trades now. Gonna go ahead and get rid of the actual threat there, the mage. Use our woodland brambles to have a nice one-sided removal. And finally, bounce Crystalia back for another Evo point, more heals, and another ward. And yet, still no Jungle Warden. Alright, Hero of Antiquity. This is a bit of a tech here, because not a normal addition to the mid-range setup. But that's okay. Fashionista can bring that down to 1 health. I'm more interested in trying to get rid of it. If I get my opponent down to no cards, I'll be very happy. Real trick is trying to keep in mind how much damage we know our opponent can do with no Evo points, which means they're limited to just a select number of storm minions. So that hurt. We're back down to 7. And now they're going to storm me down for a little bit. But again, I knew it was in a safe range, and we're still okay. And finally, Jungle Warden. Alright. So we're not going to play Jungle Warden immediately. Instead, we're going to bait out the 2 cards we know they have. Well, preparing ourselves for the finish. We got what we need, though. We have Jungle Warden, we have King Elephant, we got a Cassiopeia, which is a very nice, handy-dandy tool here. So 6 points wasted on that. And we know this last card is Hero of Antiquity. A little bit of removal, that's fine. We've won at this point. Like, I have no more things to worry about. Double ward with Storm. Let's go ahead and bring them down to 7 hit points. Now, unless they can do dark black magics, we've won. King Elephant, take us home, please. And goodbye, mid-range sword. Unfortunately, they concede before the killing blow can be dealt. Go ahead and murder. Ooh, he was in Masters, or was that Grandmasters? Regardless, let's go ahead and murder another mid-range sword, because I love murdering mid-range sword. Normally we look at a bunch of different opponents, but really my Grand Prix has been almost entirely mid-range sword. I think I had 3 mid-range sword, 1 portal, and I believe it was 1 blood. And I lost once to mid-range just because I made some very poor choices. Wasn't really paying attention. And won the other 4. So we're just going to focus on mid-range sword because there's a whole bunch of them. But we'll take this early game to talk a little bit about the other classes. If you're going to experience a bad matchup, I'd say your worst matchup might actually be Spell Boost right now. And the reason for that is they can win on turn 9 without anything for us to really control on the board. They're just as control heavy as us, they're just as removal heavy. And while our big finish is turn 10, their big finish, that being Giant Chimera, that happens on turn 9. And they're very easily able to do that thanks to Rooney generating Prophecy of Boons. Prophecy of Doom can sometimes happen early to cut you down a little bit. Forgot to mute my other applications, so you might experience a few strange sounds that are me receiving messages. Ignore those sounds. Other bad matchup, if you happen to bump into Reanimate Shadow, and they get lucky, they might mow you down with turn 7 endless armies of Zeus, so that's annoying. Otherwise, you're pretty alright. I've had a couple of matches where they didn't start the endless wave of reanimating Zeuses until after turn 10, which means they were dead. So it's really a toss-up with the reanimate shadow. Yep, there's Darksaber. The Crystalias are really nice when you're going first, because the lack of Evo points can hamper you a little bit with the removal you're looking to have. And they really help. You can evolve in situations where normally you wouldn't have any options. Now, I am in a bit of a pickle here, in that I'm going to mill a card or two, but I kind of dug that grave for myself, but I'm feeling good about it because we got Jungle Warden. So now, as long as we don't mill Elephant, we're fine. And even if we do mill Elephant, we're not screwed entirely. Alright, so you can tell they really want their Mars to stay alive. Which means we really want to kill their Mars, which is what we'll do. Because again, we got that extra Evo point. At this point, our opponents are not super used to seeing us, so we're really just going to take advantage of that. Of course, they also have their bonus Evos with their stupid luminous mages. Alright. So we're gonna take 9 damage this turn, and that's okay. Hey, look at that! That's exactly how many cards we're gonna have left in our hand after we play Cassiopeia. There we go. I have now muted my other applications. Now that I don't appreciate the messages I'm getting from Alan. Hi, Alan! Alright, they're down to 4 cards. We have 2 Airbound Barrages. So, what we have here, not scary. Meanwhile, we have... Meanwhile, we have our 1-2 punch of 2 Wardens and a King Elephant. So this match is already over. He's gonna go ahead and remove the Jungle Warden, thinking that he's safe. He is not. Boy. I think I'm going to have exactly 11. I will have exactly 11. There we go. So I lost. Once again, denied the killing blow. I'm tired of not getting in that killing blow, so... I was originally intending to just have a couple of matchups with mid-range sword, because this deck was put together almost exclusively to murder mid-range sword and aggro decks. But we'll go ahead and do that one Portal matchup we had in the Grand Prix. Now, Portal is quite a challenging opponent in many situations. Not so much with a nice control forest deck, because Woodland Brambles just wrecks them in every way. All of those one health minions they generate, the artifact minions, they just die to Brambles. All of their smaller minions die to Brambles. Cassiopeia, a very, very easy board clear against Portal, because their minions tend to be much more attack focused rather than health focused. So we have Paula here. We'll be able to get another use out of our brambles. Boy, I've said brambles a lot this episode. Biofabrication. Alright, we're gonna take a little bit of damage, but that's fine. King Elephant, 2 Jungle Wardens. We have all of our late game here. We got one of our Yggdrasils, and we got a Cassiopeia. Alright. And what's going to look like a crazy move. I'm gonna go ahead and leave up the 4-2 and the 2-3. But seeing as I have Yggdrasil in hand... Stupid allergies. Seeing as I have Yggdrasil in hand, I don't have to worry too much about my health. I just have to keep it a certain level to make sure I don't have to die in a burst. But Yggdrasil here will heal us back up. We have 2 in the deck, so we have another one to look forward to, and now we have a Crystalia. So, feeling pretty good. Not too worried about the future. We'll go ahead and evolve. And again, sometimes it's worthwhile to evolve just to bait your opponent into using their last Evo point. Because we have extra ones here. Alas. And seeing as how turn 6 happened, and they didn't play Deus Ex Machina, we're just gonna go ahead and play real loosey-goosey. Because an artifact deck that doesn't draw Deus Ex Machina on turn 6, or by turn 6 rather, is not really an opponent we need to worry too much about. They tend to panic if they don't have that card, and they get very trade happy. I, meanwhile, have no problem letting my health go pretty damn low now that I have 2 Yggdrasils that I can play. We'll go ahead and use Wrath of Nature to start healing up now, as well as removing some threats. They keep on pulling artifacts, but they're not pulling what they're looking for, I guess. Go ahead and start clearing these things. I love Gentle Warmth. It's such a great card. And it's just very exciting playing a matchup where your opponent has almost full health and you're down to about half. But the whole time you're confident that you're going to be okay. Because it's turn 9, and starting now, they start losing. This is really what the deck is all about, is you just stall until turn 10, and then you go ahead and you play a double ward, which is hard to deal with. They're out of evolution points, and you know that even if they take care of everything on the board, you have a killing blow in your hand still. It's a really fun way to play a deck. All of your choices feel weighty and important. Like right now, I can kill them. I could kill them 3 different ways right now. I could Crystalia and evolve a minion. That's lethal. We could play another Jungle Warden. That's lethal. Or we can King Elephant. Cast your vote now. What will I do? It was a trick question. Of course it was going to be Elephant. I kept on complaining about how I didn't get to land the killing blow. Bye. That portal opponent would have been a little bit more tricky had they had Deus Ex Machina, at which point they would have been cycling through the deck much faster. But even if they had it, wouldn't have had much to worry about, because we have a lot of removal, we have our brambles, we have healing, we have everything we need to make that kind of opponent not much of an issue. And we have enough draw that we're able to get those cards with relative consistency. So if you're sick and tired of those stupid aggro decks always mowing you down, give this deck a try. Tired of mid-range sword? Ruin them. Just break them down, make them cry. This deck is great for that. Cards in here that, if you're looking to craft the deck, but you don't have them, Jungle Warden and Crystallia are going to leave standard, but you have another 3 months before that happens, and they'll always be good. Like, if you ever want to start doing stuff in Unlimited, it's not like these cards are going to lose value, and even if you decide that you don't want to ever think about Unlimited, when the rotation happens, this is 6 gold cards that you can turn into vials, so that's good. Cassiopeia is a great card for Forest, and I think everyone should have 3 of her if they're going to play any Forest at all. Insect Lord, I was very hesitant about this card for a while, especially when it first came out in Chronogenesis. But it has proven to be an incredibly effective card. I kick myself now for making fun of it when it was a new card. It's really shown me the error of my ways. Yggdrasil, I think, is a great addition to this deck, but you don't necessarily need Yggdrasil. You could put in other legendaries that you may have. I've seen variations of this deck that use Fairy Dragon instead. There's a decent amount of fairy generation in the deck. Most of those fairies are going to die, and if that happens, then you can go ahead and destroy your opponent with a surprise Fairy Dragon, which you can give Storm with a Swiftgate Okami. Or you could keep Yggdrasil, put in the Fairy Dragons in place of King Elephant or maybe a Jungle Warden or 2, and then Yggdrasil can give those Storm with her card. Wrath of Nature. If you want more healing and you don't have Yggdrasil but you have Fairy Queen, is that the right card? You know the one that heals you for all of your shadows. I've also seen that one in different versions. Lots of different variations you can put together, as long as you have a strong finisher in the form of something like Jungle Warden or Fairy Dragon or King Elephant, and you have enough control to keep the board yours, which is why I think Cassiopeia is just a necessary inclusion. You really can't get away without having her. Insect Lord, you might be able to find a way to make it work without him, but he's just so good. I don't know why you would want to. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you had fun watching Mid-Range Sword get annihilated. I certainly feel great every time I get matched up against them while playing this deck, because I don't think they ever expect to lose. Oh, and in the not-too-distant future, I'm thinking about streaming, but it'll be a weird streaming experience, in that I'm thinking I'm going to be streaming 2 games at once. So maybe look forward to that? I don't know. Well, bye!